We were once a thriving people across the landscape of this vast continent. We coexisted in a sacred balance of man and nature. We were a people of tradition, honor, and a strong connection to the very land around us. Until fate had the worlds collide. In the 1830s, the churches of Christian, Anglican, and Catholic had decided to educate the children of the indigenous population. However, the First Nations people rejected their beliefs, their commandments, and their God. In 1920, the government declares that all children from the age of 7 to 16 must attend residential schools. Within this new authority, the RCMP and priests are now allowed to take children as they see fit.
I think that residential school pervades all aspects of our lives. Actually, it was so damaging in many regards. It affects our culture, it affects our language, it affects our family dynamics, it affects our many of the traditional systems that we relied upon, and we need to do a lot of healing from it. You know, I think that, and we don't realize it. You know, I know that some of our viewers are younger, but they don't realize. And I can tell you from my perspective, as a young child growing up in Canada, no one ever talked about residential school. No one. You know, it wasn't until 1995 where people actually started admitting that these institutions existed. When people would talk about school, I thought it was like what I was going to go through. I come from a remote and isolated community, and when you finish school, you have to go somewhere else to go to school. So I thought that my mom, my aunties, my grandparents, I thought that they were just going to a normal school. But what residential schools actually were actually they were prisons. They were abuse institutions where our parents, our aunties, our grandparents were abused in all sorts of ways, and some of them were even murdered. And to that effect, you know, the discovery of these children in these unmarked mass graves is a testament to that. So the question of what is the magnitude of residential school, I don't think you can actually quantify it, because it interweaves into so much of our lives, and we don't even know it. And it's actually something that we're only starting to discuss and it's only something now that people are truly starting to understand and want to believe. People used to just refuse and ignore that residential schools really happened. People used to just not talk about it. Governments wouldn't apologize. Governments would just say no, it didn't happen. And the media, to that extent, didn't actually take the opportunity to expose a lot of these things. Some of the initial people at residential schools, doctors, tried to send alarm signals to the governments at the time, and they were actually told to be quiet, and they were actually discredited and disgraced, and weren't allowed to be those advocates that they needed to be. So, you know, residential school affects everything in our lives in a negative way, and we need to rebuild from it. We need to heal from it, and we need to support one another to find out how we persevere and survive.
Bonjour. My English name is Geraldine Shingoose. My spirit names are Sky Woman and Northern Lights Woman, and I come from the Bear Clan. My warrior spirit is Grandmother Turtle. I'm a 9-year residential school survivor. I attended Muskogee Residential School from 1962 to 1971. On May 27th, we heard news of 215 children that were found in Kamloops Residential School. So as a residential school survivor, finding out this news is very painful. It hurt me to hear that those children were buried around that school. Been sharing it with the Catholic Church, and they haven't even admitted or listened to us. They're denying what happened to us in residential school. And these little ones are bringing out that truth of what happened in these Catholic-run schools. It's like they had no disregard, like, you know, for these little babies. That's what they were, little babies. Because that's the way it was in school. You know, we experienced so much hatred. We went in there thinking that we were going to get loved. We didn't get that love. There's no way that we were loved in there. I want people to know that you know, it was traumatic. And seeing other children, hearing other children cry. My experience was on a daily basis was dreading, like, you know, waking up each morning because you didn't know what was going to happen. You just wanted to protect yourself and just listen and conform and follow what they said, what you had to do. And it was hard, because sometimes if you followed and did what they told you to do, then you'd still get that beating or that slap or that hit. Didn't matter. But the impact on me as a residential school survivor now is that yes, I carry that pain and I carry that hurt for those little ones. But also I want to seek justice. I want to seek accountability, because I have a voice. I have a voice for them. You know, they need that. They need us to speak for them, and as a survivor, I'm speaking for them. And I truly believe that there should be a criminal investigation. That whoever done this to these little ones be charged. Even like one of the 215 is enough, but 215, that's so many children. How can they get away with that? We need to we need to speak for them. We need to stand up for them. And I'm going to do that as a residential school survivor. There's not too many of us left, and we need to bring out those stories. You know, there's stories that haven't been told. And I encourage all survivors to share their stories, to bring that voice, because those little ones want us to. I pray for their families, and I pray that they get justice. Ego sa chimigwech.
For there still needs to be healing from the everlasting effects of the residential school system. We may have won, but at a great cost. So long as we exist, the people exist. They tried to kill the native at heart. They tried to make us believe that our way was wrong. And they failed. For we stand here united. Not just the indigenous people, but for all those who unite to make a difference. Remember them, so that one day, every child lost in time may one day return home in peace.